Hello, welcome to another episode of CoinBlog. I'm Charles, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Merculet ICO. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is definitely not financial advice. Always remember to do your own due diligence. I'm not paid, sponsored, or affiliated with any of the ICOs discussed in today's topic. The views expressed in this video are just my opinions. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and of course hit that notification button because investing in ICOs is time critical and it would be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. And of course, if anyone reaches out to you on Telegram saying that they're CoinBlog, you're going to have to send me a direct email through my YouTube channel to verify whether or not they are actually me. There are a lot of scammers on Telegram trying to impersonate me at the moment. So when I research an ICO, instead of diving headfirst into the white paper, only to read for hours and hours and realize that the ICO project isn't for me, I just want to break it down and look at the core mechanics or fundamentals behind that ICO. I usually begin by looking at the token economics. I want to know what their hard caps and soft caps are. I want to know what their circulating supply is. And I want to know about the pre-sale and private sale, how many tokens were sold to those investors, what bonuses were available, and whether or not those bonuses are locked or vested for any amount of time. I then like to look at the team and company profile behind the ICO project. I want to assess whether or not they've got the grit and potential to follow through and execute upon the vision that's outlined in their white paper. And finally, I like to gauge the hype and marketing awareness in the crypto space for the ICO project. There's no point in me chucking money at something if people aren't going to be talking about that ICO in the next 6, 12 or 18 months time. So today's review, we're going to be looking at Merculet, and it's a very interesting project. Now, before you get your hopes up, you can see here that I've scored it very highly, but it's important to note that unlike other YouTubers and other ICO reviewers, I don't actually factor in the ICO's idea into my scoring, okay? I'm only looking at the fundamentals behind the project. I literally only grade the token economics, the team, and the hype. I'm not interested in anything else because I want to make very quick decisions when I'm looking at investments. You have to remember, I review hundreds of ICOs every month. So that is something to be very aware of. Just because I give something a bullish score doesn't mean to say that I'm actually bullish on the project. Merculet's looking very lonely here. Let's give it something for you to compare it by. So all these ICOs you see here, I have already reviewed. You can search my channel and watch them there. So what is Merculet? What's the big deal about this project? Well, Merculet wants to tokenize the attention of internet users. Businesses incentivize users to share their data, which would drive the usage and adoption of the business's platform. So it's operating in the same market niche as the basic attention token. Merculet has a very low hard cap set at only 31,000 Ethereum. It's going to have a 10 billion token supply. 30% of its tokens are sold in the crowd sale. 16,000 Ethereum is going to be allocated to pre-sale investors. 15,000 Ethereum is going to be allocated to crowd sale investors, and 20% of its tokens are going to be going to the team and its advisors. Pre-sale investors received a 20% bonus, which is going to be locked up and vested for 5 months. Every month, 20% of pre-sale investors' bonuses is going to be unlocked on a monthly distribution basis. So that's actually why I gave Merculet quite a high score with the token economics, because they've really thought about price dumping and how they can mitigate that with lockups and vesting on pre-sale investors' bonuses. Merculet's product concept will not be available till Q2 of this year with a prototype for partners. And the beta version of Merculet will not be available until Q3 later this year. So currently it doesn't look like they have a working product or MVP. But again, that's something that you really have to dig deeper on. Now, if we look at the positives behind the Merculet project, 3 things stand out. 1, we can see that by adding value to users' attention, the project actually hopes to foster a mutually positive feedback ecosystem that basically targets the nexus or connection between businesses and their users. 2, the revenue of Merculet's non-tokenized billion-dollar rivals, Instagram and Snapchat, actually stems from users' data and the value it affords to advertisers. These content curators are not paid for contributing to the growth of these companies. And 3, Merculet is a Chinese-centric project partnered with Magic Window, a Chinese user experience and mobile content management system with over 10 million users in the Greater Asia region. Merculet wants to create an SDK that can tap into and leverage Magic Window as a client base. But what about the caveats? What are the negatives that you should be aware of when researching Merculet? Well, 5 things really come to mind. First, the Merculet white paper was poorly written with several basic grammatical mistakes. It lacks technical details and seems more like an ad campaign. Now, I've seen this before with Chinese ICOs and other non-English speaking ICOs, so I have to be fair to them. It's not their first language. But to be honest with you, there's no excuse. If I was going to do a business in South Korea or China, I would make damn sure I have the right translators on board so I don't actually dilute my business concept so it's not lost in translation. The second caveat to be aware of is that for every MySpace or Friendster, there's always going to be a Facebook. Merculet will be competing with the basic attention token, Jet8, and the AdX token. Each company wants to service the attention economy. The third thing to be aware of, and this really is on a subjective level, is that the project seems rushed and overly dedicated to the token sale. Ideally, I'd like to think that the project is trying to build a connection between companies and their audiences and not just some money grab. The fourth thing to note is that despite having excellent token economics, the public and pre-sale allocations are almost identical. I do find that very strange. And finally, the challenge Merculet faces really does hinge on whether or not it can take on the titans of the internet. You've got Google, Alibaba, Tencent, Facebook, Amazon. Despite having a highly sought after and experienced team, their only strategy for success is to acquiesce or bow down to the powers that be and sell out to a greater rival. Non-blockchain competitors are likely to either acquire Merculet or revolutionize their own platforms in a decentralized way. So we can see here for the team, I awarded Merculet a very high score, 9 out of 10. And the reason for that is because they have world-class advisors, including Shen Bo, the founder of BitShares and Venbushi Capital, along with Roger Lim, who was the advisor to Bluezell, Qlink, Tomocoin, CoinFi, Selfkey, and The Key ICOs. However, it's important to note that although they have great advisors and an extremely competent core team, I did feel that the core team actually lacked the marketing experience and sales acumen to really kind of take Merculet to the stratosphere. I would have wanted to have seen someone who really had strong experience in that field. However, that said, they do have a fantastic team, and that's reflected in the score I gave them. And then for the hype, I think the hype is building quite a lot. I gave them 5 out of 10, so it's just average at this moment. But as you know, with Asian ICOs, it's very difficult for me to assess because I can't analyze the Asian market, so I don't speak the language. And then we've got the token economics, which, as I mentioned previously, I'm very bullish on for 2 reasons. 1, they have an extremely low hard cap, and 2, they've really thought long and hard about price dumping and how to overcome that. So I gave them 7 out of 10 for token economics. So here's how I see it. Before assessing whether or not to invest in a project like Merculet, you need to ask yourself 3 very important questions. The first question is, what is the need in the marketplace that Merculet is filling? And is it something that will appeal to a large proportion of the population? It doesn't solve an immediate problem or pain point in my life. Utility bills, faster internet, petrol costs, these are all things that if they changed in a drastic way would affect my living on a day-to-day basis. And something like Merculet is really too abstract and obtuse for me to care about in the day-to-day living of my life. The second question you have to ask is that successful businesses have a USP or unique selling point, which is used for differentiating their product offering from their competitors. Merculet's product offering is Asia-centric, and it pivots away from basic attention's Western audience. This, in my books, is actually a good thing because it gives it a clear differentiation from something like basic attention, which obviously doesn't really focus on the Asian audience. The final problem you need to look at is current versus desired states. You need to ask yourself, how can the current process of online advertising be improved in a way that creates value? In my opinion, decentralizing users' attention with the aim of reward merely obfuscates the problem. Merculet would need to follow a similar trajectory to the basic attention token, either integrating its protocol with the likes of YouTube, Twitch, Reddit, Twitter, or their Chinese equivalents. In conclusion, how do I see Merculet? Well, it's quite hard for me to summarize, and really I'm in two minds. I feel a cognitive dissonance for the Merculet ICO. Cognitive dissonance is a state of having two or more inconsistent thoughts or contradictory beliefs in relation to carrying out a decision or action. Much like a smoker who inhales on a cigarette, knowing full well that the action of doing so is bad for him. I really like the fundamentals behind the Merculet ICO, and yet I feel their idea is bad and not good for me as a short-term investor and speculator. Is Merculet's glass half full or half empty? You decide. So, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and of course hit that notification icon, because investing in ICOs is time critical and it would be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.